Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode in our Sim Sunday Extra series where we slot in another video between our normal publishing schedule. And this, guys, is a very special video recreating a Thai International Airbus A310 flight in X-Plane. So we're back in the capable hands of the Real Airbus pilot, starting today's flight in Bangkok for the 1 hour flight down to Phuket. And if you've been following my Round the World Low Cost series in Prepared 3D version 4.5, you would know that this flight in the awesome Inibuilds Airbus A310 recreates my first ever trip to Phuket in the real world back in September 1998. The only slight change here being, of course, that this is the new airport at Bangkok. And back in 1998, this airport didn't exist. So I made the 1 hour flight in the real world between Bangkok and Phuket from the old international airport on board a Thai International Airbus A310 in this very livery. And of course, in 2022, at the time of recording this episode, there are very few passenger variants of this Airbus A310 flying in the real world today, with Air Transat of Canada ending their Airbus A310 flights only a few years ago. That leaves the last few remaining Airbus 310 in passenger variants flying, I believe, in Iran and potentially Pakistan. So I feel really blessed to have had the opportunity to fly on board an Airbus A310 in the real world, an aircraft that was launched by Airbus Industries to compete directly with the Boeing 767. And of course, the sales of the Boeing 767 dwarfed any sales of this little wide-bodied Airbus. But back to today's flight on board the Inibuilds Airbus A310-300 in XPlane11. In the Real Airbus pilot's notes, he's telling me that the systems on board this virtual aircraft are absolutely superb and mimic really well the real world systems that you would find on board this aircraft. He was also saying that the detail in this cockpit is one of the best he's ever seen in X-Plane. And I was reading only a few weeks ago that Inibuilds are currently porting this Airbus A310 across to Microsoft Flight Simulator. So by the sounds of it, from the press that it is getting, it is going to be an extremely popular tubeliner in the new kid on the block. But at the time of editing this video in late March 2022, and despite keeping my installation of Microsoft Flight Simulator up to date, I'm still not flying in the sim for a whole host of reasons, including the simple fact that there are no decent third-party tubeliners available in the sim yet. I will of course be purchasing PMDG 737 when it becomes available, in a bid to see how the new sim copes with a very high quality study level tubeliner. I was also very disappointed to hear recently that the first Airbus that Aerosoft will be releasing in Microsoft Flight Simulator will be their Airbus A330-300. But if I'm ever to switch across to Microsoft Flight Simulator from Prepared 3D, Aerosoft are going to have to port the Airbus A320 family across. So I don't think I will be converting across to Microsoft Flight Simulator for a long time to come, certainly not in 2022 and maybe not in 2023. And the Real Airbus pilot was telling me that Microsoft Flight Simulator does absolutely nothing for him. He feels that the physics engine is so far away from what is available here in XPlane11 that he's got absolutely no intention of converting his virtual flying time to Microsoft Flight Simulator anytime soon. So here we are in XPlane11, about to start a 1 hour flight on board the Inibuilds Airbus A310-300 from Bangkok down to Phuket in Thailand.
Thai Air 285 ready to copy IFR clearance.
Thai Air 285 is cleared to Victor Tango Sierra Papa. Climb via the UK ER3J departure, with the Yukara transition, then as filed. Expect departure runway 19 left. Climb to flight level 240 via the departure. Expect higher clearances 10 minutes after departure. Departure on 119.25. Squawk 4022.
Thai Air 285 ready for pushback and engine start.
Thai Air 285 pushback and engine start approved.
Pushback and engine start approved. Thai Air 285.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake. Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
285 contact tower on 118.2. Enjoy your morning.
Tower on 118.2 Thai Air 285.
As I edit this video, I have to say that the sound set on board this Inibuilds Airbus A310 sound absolutely incredible. The realism and attention to detail are a credit to the developer. Right, back to today's flight. We're at the holding point for runway 19 left here at Bangkok. So let's see how the Real Airbus pilot copes with getting this Inibuilds Airbus A310 into the sky.
Service, you may begin to use your electronic devices. We urge you to keep your seatbelt fastened at all times, even when the captain turns off the seatbelt sign, as turbulence can occur unexpectedly. When the seatbelt sign is off, you are allowed to move around the cabin. Please do not congregate in any area of the cabin, including our galleys or lavatories. If you need to retrieve anything from the overhead compartment,
I couldn't believe what I was hearing during that departure on 19 left from Bangkok. As the aircraft passed through 1,500 feet, the sound of those engines spooling back were absolutely fantastic. But here we are, descending over the Andaman Sea towards runway 27 at Phuket. And if you go back to the last video, you will see me making exactly the same approach in the Aerosoft Airbus A320 in prepared 3D version 4.5. And that of course was on board the Go Air Go first Airbus A320 on a flight inbound from Mumbai in India. And I learnt something new while the Real Airbus pilot was making this approach into runway 27 at Phuket. The runway is offset by 2 degrees. And of course, being the complete rank amateur I am, it does answer a lot of my own questions on the approaches I've made to here in Phuket in prepared 3D.
Thai Air 285 exit runway when able.
Welcome to Phuket International Airport, Thailand in XPlane11. And like all of the scenery that the Real Airbus pilot is using outside the United Kingdom, this is absolutely stock scenery within XPlane11. And even thinking back to the departure from Bangkok, the airport scenery was excellent for stock scenery and certainly a lot better than the stock scenery that you would get in Prepared. But let's be honest guys, the new airport at Bangkok doesn't even exist in Prepared 3D version 4.5, and therefore the only reason I've got access to the new Bangkok airport in Prepared is because I've downloaded and paid for the AA sceneries version. So in the next episode on the channel I will be continuing my round the world low cost challenge in Prepared 3D, and that will be on board the AirAsia Airbus A320 from Aerosoft, when I fly the shortest sector in the entire challenge from here in Phuket down to Singapore at Changi. So you know what to do guys. If you want to continue to follow the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to be notified when the next video is published. And thank you so much to the Real Airbus pilot, aviation's version of the Stig, for taking the time to make this episode on board the Inibuilds Airbus A310 from Bangkok down to Phuket, recreating my last flight on board the Airbus A310 in the real world all the way back in September 1998. And last but not least, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and wherever you're flying in your virtual world, don't forget to fly safe.